Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 49 of the Glimmer Gang Podcast. And boy, do we have a lot to talk about, guys. Sean, Blake, we got our first ever errata. Before we talk about that and everything else we have to talk about, Sean, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, my friend.
And Blake, how about you?
Doing pretty great, all in all.
Yeah, I think we have different feelings right now. I think the Lorcana community is definitely in a weird spot right now due to the fact that Bucky, Scroll Week Tutor, got an errata. Was it a Wednesday? I think it was Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. Disney Lorcana released a press release on their website, and I'm just going to read it all the way through right here so you guys get everything to know about it. It says, "Hello, Disney Lorcana TCG players. We have an announcement regarding a card that will be receiving an errata in all formats starting with the Shimmering Skies hobby release on August 9th, 2024. Errata is not something we take lightly or want to do often, so we give it some context to our plans. Errata and bans going forward will be planned to be effective at the hobby launch of the next set unless a change is deemed immediately necessary. We want to preserve a fun environment for the game and address cards that cause negative experiences for players at all levels. We're looking for ways to make printed version of the updated card available to players later this year, and it will be corrected in any future printings. Starting August 9th, the following card will be changed as follows. Bucky Scrolstick Tutor, we all know that it has Ward. Whenever you play a Floodboard, you discard, and it is a 2 cost. The changes is it is now a 3 cost. It has no Ward keyword anymore. And its new squeak ability says whenever you play a Floodboard character, if you use Shift to play them, each opponent chooses a discard and chooses and discards a card. It says context: Ursa's return gave Bucky players the opportunity to discard multiple cards from opponents' hands as early as turn 2, while building up a board that was very difficult to interact with, creating a stressful environment that just wasn't fun. Ward also made Bucky close to untouchable, taking away player agency to deal with a powerful and cheap threat. For those reasons, we're increasing Bucky's cost to 3 and removing Ward from him. Additionally, we feel that requiring Shift better represents the Floodborne experience, as many decks utilizing Bucky have mostly ignored and using this Shift mechanic outside of one Sinister Bird. Please keep in mind for challenge events, Shimmering Skies will be legal on August 30th, but the errata will go into effect immediately, so the challenge event in Toronto, looking at you, Blake, on the weekend prior, will have the errata in effect even though Shimmering Skies is not legal for the event. We apologize for missing the mark on this card and hope you understand why we're taking steps to preserve a fun experience. Lastly, as we'd like the Disney Lorcana TCG to remain a welcome experience for all players new to TCGs, please be understanding and helpful with those who may not follow changes like this. It can be tough to keep up with, so we're working to provide an update on the app as soon as we can. Thank you for your support of the Disney Lorcana TCG, and then just sign their organized play team." So that was what came out on the website. Obviously, an extreme change. And before we talk about that, the community manager, Rochelle, also posted a message on Discord that was a lot shorter. But Blake, do you want to read that real quick?
Yeah, she says here, we know many of you have been surprised by the errata to Bucky and want to reiterate that this was done for the good of the game as a whole, not as any sort of fix to competitive play. Additionally, our approach to errata rather than ban in this instance was a unique case. We are planning support for printings of additional languages in the future and want to deliver a fully playable experience to our future fans, rather than having those players have one less card in Emerald. Banning is still a tool in our toolbox that we will deploy if necessary in the future, and one we would typically prefer over a drastic errata like this.
So I think that this kind of basically is saying that we just got the announcement the other day that Lorcana is coming in Chinese now, which is great to see. We're adding another language.
Fantastic.
And it's going to add more languages as time goes on. So obviously you just want to, they're going to print the first chapter in that language. They're going to print Rise of the Floodborn. I think they're going to print all the sets that have already been released. So they have those cards.
Yeah.
And so they just want to have all 204 cards, which makes sense. I also, before we talk about this is kind of funny that you guys had a conversation last week about banning and all that stuff. And obviously this isn't a ban, but
Right.
I said it before.
Didn't see it coming.
No, I don't think anyone really did.
Not this soon, at least. When we were talking, we were saying possibly we did say potentially after Bochum, but we were more leaning towards after Texas to before we saw anything done.
Yeah. I think they probably did this now just because we know there's actually today, like a month from now, is when Shimmering Skies releases. So get it out there early enough to where it's not not interfering, because like cards are starting to get revealed for the set, so it's not anywhere like close to that.
Well, I mean, the time frame we talked about, Blake, it's kind of holding true because I mean, it's still legal in Texas, right?
Yeah,
it's still before Errata in Texas, right?
Yeah, it'll be illegal
so
here in, I believe, Bologna. Is Bologna? I don't know how to say that. It looks like Bologna.
That's close.
It's
close. You got really close at least, you know.
I believe
Bologna? I don't know.
I believe it's legal for that one as well.
Yeah,
if I read right. But obviously Texas, or we'll talk about the change.
For sure, wasn't expecting it to be an errata.
No,
really wasn't expecting that. That was just I'm not used to that in paper TCGs, so just for me, it really wasn't even on the table. Like you don't see this a whole lot in games where you can't just alter the text with a little bit of code. So
because like I mean, obviously the community is so split on this. If this is good, if this is
divided.
Bad. Like I don't know. I can't really remember. There probably was something, and you guys may be able to remember better. But a time where people were so split on something that involved the game, like something that came from Disney Lorcana themselves, that split the community. We can say like peanut butter and jelly, if people understand that. That caused a big divide, but obviously that was something that was outside of the game.
With the game itself, I mean, we talked about...
only thing that comes... What? Go ahead, Blake, sorry.
No, you're good. The only thing I can think of really is just the topic of banning in general and certain cards and those divides, but this one, now that we finally have one in place, essentially... with how strong they went with the errata. Because I think we can all agree this card was errata into the ground.
This was
yeah.
I said it before the episode. This is a Gantu level errata. They errata this to the level of play that Gantu sees. Bucky, I don't think we'll ever see play again after this errata.
Not this version. No, I don't. I think any one of the things that they did probably would have been enough to alter it enough to it wouldn't have been as dominant. They just made it near unplayable. Like I don't see a lot of places where this card goes anymore.
No, and
no, not like, to the same level. No,
and obviously, like if you get rid of Ward, I think was the biggest issues because we just couldn't remove it. We were teching in cards like Avalanche and all that stuff. Like Ruby Amethyst was having to wait till turn 7 at least. And it was just a very interesting matchup. And obviously, like, set champs in Texas and Bologna will still have to deal with this. But if you keep Ward and move it to a 3 cost, it doesn't really change anything. And then the ability changing is kind of just like...
The Ward is really what the problem was, honestly. If we're being honest with ourselves.
I want to, like, I'll pose the question to either of you if you want to answer this. If they gotten rid of Ward and just left it as a 2 cost and kept the same ability, does this still see play?
Yeah, because the combo that they talked about with Diablo, being able to discard multiple cards on turn 2, that is still an option because that's all happening on the turn 2. Bucky comes down and you haven't had a chance to answer him.
And then you immediately discard to shift that Diablo.
So, and you could have Diablo sing Sun and Chill or something, and you're down several cards already. So I could understand. I understand the cost increase and getting rid of Ward, especially for that early in the game. Like the only real thing that is available, which doesn't see play, is Triton's Decree.
And that's like if you have another character on board.
If they had their 1 cost Diablo, they could just be like, okay, I'll get rid of the Diablo instead.
This problem all arose because this card's from set 2, which came out last year, in November, and it never really saw play. I think it never saw prevalent play, I think is the best way to put it.
The deck was there, but it was nowhere near
No.
as impressive because the shifting didn't come until, or Floodborns being dropped. Floodborns, didn't come till the next turn. So you had
I just also don't think we got Diablo as a 3-drop, Aladdin is a 3-drop,
and a bunch of cheap Floodborns this set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of what pushed this card over the edge.
That and even with the shifting is like most people are shifting Diablo is like, so that would still pop off.
Yeah.
So yeah, I personally I understand and I'm happy because that deck has been rampant and has been kind of holding back several other decks from being able to rise up just because they don't have the super draw engines that some of these other top tier decks have. So like literally if you did not have enough draw to keep up with the discard, you're out. Your deck can't stand up to anything.
And that's the thing, like when you look at like, I'll specifically like talk about Ruby decks because that's what I play most of the time with Ruby Amethyst. When we're playing against this, we're only playing cards to the board that can draw when they're played. So like Maleficent, that's why 4 of Maleficent is now back in the deck because you just need to combat Bucky. It's 4 friends that were fine playing that hard casting. If I'm looking at my hand and I have the big Sisu and I have a friends in it, I'm like, okay, maybe I could play the Sisu and then sing friends next turn. I'm just gonna choose to play friends and hard cast it on turn 3, just so I have like cards to ink. And obviously like Ruby Sapphire has a lot easier time getting up to 7. And what I'm saying 7 is because be prepared. If either of those decks can be prepared, and you're able to get rid of a Diablo with a Brawl.
Even Sapphire Steel with Grab Your Swords.
Exactly.
Those decks had those options to kind of ramp and get to before Bucky got too crazy, but most other decks don't have that sort of resource to get around Bucky.
Yeah, I think it was just an annoying matchup because if they manage to get down they go turn 1 Baby Diablo, turn 2 Bucky, shift Diablo on turn 2, sing a sudden chill, and just keep playing
Floodborns after that.
You can't do anything about it. And so I guess you kind of just have to hope that they miss their Buckies.
That was pretty much your only shot. Yeah.
But yeah, excuse me. This I think came as a shock to the Lorcana community as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I was still asleep when this was announced, and I look at like our chat that we have for us 3, and Blake just goes, "You should add this to the docket for Friday." And I'm like, what? I was still like in that phase where like things were still like looking a little blurry to me in the morning, and I opened it. I'm like, oh, that happened.
Yep.
And then I went to Twitter, and you don't even want that was a mess.
It was on fire.
It had exploded.
But yeah, any last thoughts on this? I guess we can talk about Toronto real quick and what that's going to look like.
That's going to be insane because, we're going to talk about Bochum in a bit. And sure, I can look at it and learn from it, but the meta is going to be entirely different. With Green Steel will not be there anywhere in the same capacity. So Toronto is going to be wild, is my guess right now.
I'll say this before we get there. Knive, and we'll talk about this in whole later when we talk about Bochum, because that did just happen this last weekend. Knive Nerd from Knives Nerd Corner, a good friend of ours, made a really nice spreadsheet that like broke down the decks from Bochum, and 22% of the meta was Emerald Steel in just Swiss in total, and then I'll fast forward to the top 16. 50% of it was Emerald Steel. We won't see that at all. There is a whole like deck archetype that is like just at the top. It has been like number one, I think it's arguably, not arguably, been number one for a while, in terms of like ranking the top four, and so yeah, Toronto's going to be a whole, and it's still
crazy.
It's not Shimmering Skies. It's still this set. So
yeah,
as soon as like set champs are over there, we're gonna have I think a 2 week window where we're throwing Bucky out the window. We're not looking at new cards, or at least those who are playing in Toronto are not looking at new cards, but are looking to. It's all like it's so different than what Atlanta was, because Atlanta it was the end of set 3, but everything was still there. Nothing got banned. Here, this is going to open up so many different things, I think.
Yeah. That, and I do want to reiterate one more time before we move on that this is a very unique case from what Rochelle said. This is not how we're typically. You're muted, Sean.
Yeah, I realized that the second I started talking. I was just saying the same thing you were, though. It was not typical.
Yeah, this is not how they plan on handling erratas, and so if this particular thing is hurting and making you upset with the game, just take note that this is not going to. This is not their plan on how they're handling things. This is a very unique case from what they say. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, we're coming up on a year in this game. 1 year. One singular year of this game being out. And when we look at other games like Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon who have not done erratas, I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually does a good amount of erratas.
They do. They're kind of different where they kind of re-release the card with the... yeah.
But that we won't have... like, those games have been around for 20 plus years at this point. This game's been around a year, so they're going to experiment. They're going to try new things out. Obviously, yes, they can go off of what Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Did, but we haven't seen a game be this successful this quickly in a long time. Like, in a very long time, I don't think. And so, just keep in mind that it'll be different as we go forward. And Bucky is, as they said, just a very oppressive card that just wasn't fun to play against. Nope. And I know a lot of people played the deck but still didn't have fun with it, and the only reason they played it is because it was that good. Like, I know many people in my local area who play it, not because they like it, but because they can win Ursulas with it. Like that.
Yeah, you really felt like you had to, you know?
Yeah. Speaking of winning Ursulas.
Yeah, speaking of... I was about to say that. We just finished at Champs Week 1. Blake and I both had one, and I was able to walk away with an Ursula.
Ooh. And I was able to...
Oh.
Womp
womp.
Womp womp.
Blake, you want to go take us through yours?
Yeah, I will say I had a fun time with mine. I didn't do amazing. I decided the night before because my wife is playing our best deck that we have built, which is our Sapphire Ruby deck. And with our collection and with my unlucky pulls from this set, I did not have the cards for some of the other decks. Like, because of sharing with Sapphire Ruby, I couldn't play Sapphire Steel or Ruby Amethyst because of the cards that are shared in between those decks, and we don't have a ton of those. And then I just did not pull any Diablos or anything, so I can join the Scourge and play Emerald Steel. So I decided to try out a Steel Song list. And I had some really great games, and I had some really terrible ones. There was one that was against the Sapphire Steel, where the first game I did fantastic. The game went great. I'm like, awesome. I can maybe take a 2-0 here. And we were playing a 2-game format, by the way.
Oh.
So I was needing, and that was possibly why I didn't do too well, especially with that deck. I feel like it performs better in that 3-game format. But that second game, turn 1 Ink play Cinderella. They got to go first, so it was their turn 2. They boom Cinderella. I'm like, okay, I don't get to do that. Turn 3 draw. I got 1 ink in hand. Ink it. Yep. Play a flute. Turn 2 no ink, or turn 3 no ink. Just play another flute that I have in hand. Turn 4 still no ink. Play another flute that I had in hand. I had all of my flutes and some high cost uninkable songs, and I'm just like, I was able to come back pretty well, but that slow start just didn't let me catch up quick enough in order to beat out their dime strategy. Yeah. They just got too many turns undisturbed.
Yeah.
But overall, it was good and fun, but didn't make anywhere close to top 8.
Yeah, those 2-game format for the set champs is like, when I was looking at them, I like specifically looked to see if, because I don't mind it, but I would rather play 3-game format and set champs. Or best of 3, I guess is the best way to put it. But yeah, my set champs, I did 2 in one day, which was arguably an interesting choice. First one, I played Ruby Amethyst. That's what I'm playing. It's what I've played for a while. I think it's just been a common theme. I did it in set 3, set 2, set 1, and set 4. Like it's the deck I know the best, and so I took it to 2 set champs. First one, I went 4-2. I was able to go. These are both best of 3 tournaments. So I was able to go 2-0 to start, and then I lost one and then won 2 more in my first one. So I was 4-1 going into round 6. This is a 62-person tournament, so I had to win my round 6 to make it into top cut. And I had dodged it all day, and guess what? My round 6 opponent is playing. Just guess. Take a wild guess.
Bucky? Emerald Steel?
There you go. It was an okay, like, game 1, he went first, and he just got his Bucky Diablo, like, nothing I can do. Game 2, I went first, and being on the play against that deck does have its advantages. Like, I had a Brawl in my hand, and I just had when I flipped over my mulligan, I'm like, oh, crap. This is 3 friends on the other side and a Brawl. I am keeping all of this and looking for more draw. I kept all 3 of my friends. And I was able to get up to 7 ink. I was able to Brawl his Diablo when he played it. I was able to and then basically get him into top deck mode. And also, at that point, I was in top deck mode as well because he had discard so much. And he's at like 16 and I'm at like 13 ink or lore. And he has top decks and he plays this Tinkerbell down. And nothing else on board, nothing in hand. And I'm like, okay, if I don't find something to get rid of this, I think I had 1 card in hand at this point as well. If I can't find something to get rid of this, I'm done. I had already played all 3 Medusas and a Tremaine. I played 2 Tremaines, flip over the top card of my deck, it's a Tremaine. I play it down, I'm able to clear it, and I get game 2. Game 3, he doesn't have Bucky on turn 2, and I don't know what I was doing, but I just kind of went too aggressive with it. And then at one point, he was able to use Big Ursula to let the Storm Rage on. So took out 2 of my characters, drew 2 cards, and then like at like turn 4 he had 3 Buckies on the field, and he plays a beast on turn 5, and I had to discard my entire hand and I lost. And he went on to get an Ursula. He's a good guy, really good player in the area. So that was unfortunate, but then I knew that there was a tournament at 10 o'clock at night. So I knew if I was going to do well, it was going to take me till like 6, 7, 8 in the morning, which it did. I'm happy to say that my first 2 rounds I 2-0'd 2 Dirty Birds. I was very happy about that. They never saw Bucky, so it was what it was. They saw it, they saw it too late.
Yeah.
I was able to go 4-1, and this was a smaller tournament, so I was able to ID round 6, go into top 8, beat Sapphire Steel in top 8, and then lost in the mirror in top 4, but I was able to secure my Ursula. So and I got home at like 8 o'clock in the morning, I think. So I just kind of slept all day after that. But that was my set champs experiences. I have one this coming Sunday. Do you guys have any this weekend? Sean, yours is next weekend, right?
Yep, mine's the 20th, the one I have confirmed. The other shop I spoke to, they never got back to me. I'm probably going to try to get a hold of them again. They said they were waiting to see if other shops in their area were doing it, because they ended up doing theirs on the same day as a couple other places, and
Okay.
I guess their attendance was down because of it, so they're trying to make that a priority this time. So hopefully I get to hit too.
Yeah. I don't have one this weekend, but I have one that I'm going to on the 21st. That is the one that I went to last set champs, then I made top 8. So I'm hoping I can take this one and get an Ursula this time.
Okay.
There you go. Top 8. You just keep the same deck, or you're going to bring something different?
Oh, that's not going to be coming with me to this one, so I may take Sapphire Ruby.
There you go.
Or Sapphire Steel, one of those two.
One of those two.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I think the top, like those, it kind of just depends in that regard. Like, are you gonna see more Bucky? If you're gonna see more Bucky, bring Sapphire Steel. If you're gonna see more of Ruby, if you're gonna see more of like Sapphire Steel, bring Ruby Sapphire. But top 4, you can go back and forth with how much you're gonna see in different places. But before we talk about all those decks, how not be performing at Bochum, we have new cards to talk about. From Shimmering Skies, it is finally ramping up into reveal season. I think it's all of our favorite seasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
And these first 3 cards were revealed at DLC Bochum on their European stream, I believe. I was at work all weekend, so I didn't see. I believe theirs on their European stream. So the first one is a Amber action. This is Invited to the Ball, a 2-costed uninkable action, and says reveal the top 2 cards of your deck. Put revealed character cards into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. Amber has card draw in general, but this card I think can work really well in obviously like in any Amber deck. Sean, I'll go to you first. Thoughts on Invited to the Ball?
Well, you got to figure a ton of the good Amber decks. They feature just a bunch of characters. If you're not playing Steel Song, you're playing heavy characters like Red Fossa or some sort of hyper aggro. This is gonna hit most of the time in those decks, and you're gonna. It's just great card draw. So I love it personally. I think it's gonna be great. I think we're gonna see a decent amount of play out of this card for real.
Yeah, Blake is someone who just played an Amber deck this past weekend at Set Champs. Would you like to have this card in your deck?
This one, no, since it was more of a Steel Song.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Too many whiffs in that deck.
I will say, even in an aggro deck, I'm not sure you would spend a turn playing this just to draw when you're wanting to play things in Errata and Quest.
In the idea where you're starting to run out of steam, it helps. You know what I mean?
like
A few turns later, sure. But
not early.
Yeah, definitely not your turn to play.
No.
Yeah.
No, you're basically hoping to like turn 4 or 5, play this, and then play a 1-drop or a 2-drop at the same time, like right afterwards.
That's fair. I do also think for the Mufasa decks, especially, just if this is one of your few non-character cards, like your 1/4 of just having something to draw a bit more than just relying off of Mufasa and some of your other characters.
Or even digging down to that Mufasa, you know, like
right, yeah. So I definitely could see this getting some play.
Yeah, that Mufasa did work against me in set champs. I know I'm going back there, but 2 Mufasas in a row, Mal Dragon.
Ouch.
I hit into the Mal Dragon, and I hit a Mufasa, Rapunzel, heal Mal Dragon. Like,
oof. That doesn't feel good.
So, in that side tangent. Invited the Ball. I like it. I think this could definitely work well in a characters-based Amber deck. We obviously have one in Red Fossa. I could see this doing something in, like, if a Blue Fossa deck ever comes to light. I saw one at one of my set champs, just because you can ramp and kind of play this. If, like, later in the game, if you need to find characters, play this and find, like, an interesting line, if we're thinking set 5, is play this. If you can pull your Merlin that you have, play that. Look for any card in your deck, pull it out.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, with that, I believe for Merlin, it's only on shift.
Oh,
Shift them down. We have blue cards to shift on, whatever. But you are right. You are right about that. The next card we will talk about is from you, Blake. Finders Keepers. Want to take us through it?
Yep. Finders Keepers is another action, this time in Amethyst. It is 5 cost and inkable, and simply draw 3 cards.
Typical Amethyst.
Yep.
Typical Amethyst. Definitely chose who you want to play this with, because it chose Jafar and Iago. So would go into that Jafar combo-y deck potentially, but without being a song, I'm not sure you would put this into your deck. I think you would still rather use your 5 cost slot for a whole new world for that deck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like this one for the Amethyst, to be honest.
It's my design. Fast service.
Maybe.
I don't
Yeah.
think
I did also think when I first saw this card hasn't seen play, I think, ever, but the Genie Floodborn from the first chapter,
Oh, yeah.
where he quests and gets to play a 5 cost action or less for free.
Good
And
call.
so that would be fun,
that would be-
potentially.
That's
that would
awesome.
be really fun, honestly.
I like that line.
Yeah. But yeah, so maybe an Emerald Amethyst Jafar combo deck where you got like Floodborn
Amethyst.
Genie, you got the Deceiver of all Ursula, double singing friends and stuff. So
Bucky.
If you want to get really wild, second start of the right, I believe, doesn't it
Oh,
draws you
yeah.
a ton of cards.
It's
I know it's
5
super.
5
it's-
cards.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So it's a 10 cost thing together, I believe. But
Yeah.
still.
Yeah, but people have already been trying it, I think, with the Deceiver of all and Jafar. They can sing together, and because of that, you can draw
Sing it,
Mm-hmm.
the 10 cards and gain 10 lore. So
pretty wild.
If
you can pull it off.
if that deck pops off, I could see that this sliding into that deck now.
For sure.
Next set.
Yeah. Emerald Amethyst. It's back, baby. It's back.
Hey,
Speaking of an Emerald card, or not Blake, Sean, you want to take us through the final card revealed at DLC Bochum?
absolutely, man. We have a location. It's an Emerald 2 cost, inkable, with 2 movement and 7 willpower. Sherwood Forest, Outlaw Hideaway. Its first ability is Forest Home. Your characters named Robin Hood may move here for free. And the ability Familiar Terrain. Characters gain Ward and have Exert, pay 1 ink, deal 2 damage to chosen damaged character while here.
Ping.
It's coming in at the rare slot. It's not the worst. The only thing that holds us back, I think, is it has no lore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If this had 1 lore, I think this would honestly be a pretty good card.
It really, really would, in my opinion. I mean, it still could potentially be a good card. There's a lot going on here and a lot to unpack without having like all the Robin Hoods out in front of us. What Robin Hoods we will probably get in this set to go with
we
this
already
card.
have that one that was revealed.
It's
like
it's a
week ago.
vanilla like 4-drop or 4 lore or something like that. Isn't that what it is?
No, that was
Isn't
2
it
sets
crazy?
ago. That was 2
Was
sets
it 2 sets ago? Okay.
Yeah. That was the 6 cost one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was.
6
That's what
yeah.
it was.
We did
Yeah.
get one, I believe, a new Robin Hood.
If we Yeah, if we get a Robin that cares about locations in some way and gets to move there for free, I could see it.
Yeah.
But that the second ability though is just super tough to pull off sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Especially right now with the amount of ward characters that are prevalent, especially
Exactly.
in like Sapphire Steel decks. That and Resist too.
Sean, you weren't wrong
So
about this new Robin Hood having 4 lore. He does. It's a 9-cost unlinkable, 6/6 for 4 lore, and
Yeah.
then it has ward and tag me in. For each 1 damage on opposing characters, you may pay 1 less to play this character. So it's a Chernabog for damage.
yeah,
Which, I mean, it's the same, like, it's going the same way as Sherwood Forest because it cares about damage, you know what I mean? Which we've seen a ton of Emerald and Steel cards that go in that direction, and maybe it's going to finally push that deck to, like, with Sheriff of Nottingham and Beast and all that crazy stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Could happen.
Yeah, honestly, I would like to play something around with this somehow. Obviously, when we get to the point on where we're playing tribal decks or like franchise-based decks, I guess is the best way to put it. This goes straight into Robin Hood. We already have a good amount of good Robin Hood cards. Obviously, Champion of Sherwood sees tons of play. So, I mean, if you want to play a Robin Hood based Emerald Steel deck, here you go.
Yeah, the Little John's in Steel, like
have some fun. And Sheriff of Nottingham is also in Steel.
Yep,
like,
it's true.
Have some fun. Now I think about it, could we do like something like this and then add the Beast Relentless into it that readies every time something takes damage, or is that when you draw cards?
He wants to be in there, I think. Yeah.
Oh, he definitely wants to be in there because that's the combo with him and Sherwood, or the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Within the Bayou, like that Beast.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know. Maybe there's something there.
There might be, man. There really might be. This might be the new location that you consider for that. You know.
Yeah. Because I mean,
actually, what does Bayou does something, right?
No, because it's what you can. Basically, I believe the combo is Sheriff of Nottingham deals a damage every time you discard a card. When you quest at the Bayou, you get to draw a card and then you discard a card. So you quest with Beast at the Bayou, discard a card, deal a damage to an opposing character, and then Beast readies when you deal damage, and you're basically just you cycle
loop it like
that.
Yep.
It's
good stuff.
Those are the 3 cards from DLC Bochum. We're gonna move on to. We got 6 cards yesterday from Illuminarium Robin de Jeu. I believe this is a French or German based website. We got 6 cards.
Sounds super French.
Yeah. The first card, and these are rough translations. We don't have the English version, so we're gonna use do as best we can to say these and what they will be. The first one, this is just the vanilla Lord Hector. This is a 7-costed uninkable on Steel, 7 strength, 10 willpower, and then I believe 2 lore. So, yeah, vanilla, just a big body.
Yeah.
Not really much else you can say.
Yeah.
The next card.
A new Sword in the Stone character that we haven't seen before.
That is true.
Yeah.
I know you're happy about that, Blake. Speaking of Blake, you have the next card for us. Want to take us through this new Sapphire action?
Yeah, especially since it features our boy Cusco.
Yeah.
It is a 1-cost inkable action. And the translation we have here says, "I'm not having fun anymore." You get to choose one of your characters and place it in your inkwell, face down and exerted. So basically, 1 cost to put something in your ink that's already on the field, which I really don't know what you would want to do that with, unless you're.
Here we go. I got it. You're playing Blurple. You have a Merlin Goat on field. You have a Tala on field. You play this, bounce to put your Goat into your inkwell, gain 2 lore. I think
that's
fair.
It's not terrible.
If you don't have your Mims to bounce your Goat, sure.
Well, yes, but that was what came to the top of my head.
Yeah, no.
Something.
Yeah.
I mean, I
I
don't. Go ahead, Blake.
I wonder if this is something we'll see in Sapphire, where we'll see a character with this ability, and this will be like the Sapphire
Ooh,
mem
okay.
Okay.
for
Okay.
Sapphire, where
A
it's
bigger
like
Cuzco?
as a cost to play your overpowered Sapphire card, you send something else into the inkwell rather than to your hands. So
A bigger
that
Cuzco?
would be neat to see, because we've seen a lot of this where we get
Mm.
an action that does a certain thing, and then we later see a character that does the same thing.
Because like Gruesome and Grim, I believe, is the ability. Right?
Yes.
Gruesome and Grim
Yep.
have the card,
Yeah.
but also have. Yeah, I honestly I agree with that. I could see like us having like a 5 or 6 cost Cuzco and Sapphire that uh does the same thing, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
like
And he just has some insane abilities, or
it's like 4
yeah,
lore ward because that fits in Sapphire. Oh gosh.
yeah.
That I don't know. That'll be interesting. Sean, do you have thoughts on I'm not having fun anymore?
It's solid card. It's more Sapphire ramp. Sapphire doing what Sapphire likes to do. Super early. Like, it's a 1-drop and it's inkable itself.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
no matter what, you're getting
you're getting ink out of it.
yeah, you're getting ink out of it. So I love it. It fits right in.
Right, we're gonna move on to the next card, which is another action, but in Ruby. Sean, you want to take us through this one?
Absolutely. We got a Ruby 2-cost inkable action here. It is called The End Is Near. It says, choose one of your characters and ready them. They can't quest for the rest of this turn. If you choose a villain character, gain 1 lore. Solid. It's another, like, what's the LeFou? What's the red LeFou? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Or
That or Shield, Fan the Flames. Like, it's
Yeah.
another great Ruby way of keeping your stuff safe, and on the upshot, if you're playing a villain, you get a lore out of it. I think it's really good, and it's so
Excuse me.
I think it's decent at the very least.
And Ruby cards have a lot of villains in them to begin with.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. There's more upside to this than there is with just like LeFou, and because you take away your ability, like you quest once, keep them safe, you get a lore, and honestly, depending on like if you have like the Scar out, the big 7-drop Scar out, like this is perfect for him. You have him quest, ready him with this, and then you go attacking, and you've already gained the lore from him questing, the lore from this card, and I think that's a great move personally. I think this could see a decent amount of play.
I also just thought of a particular deck is the Emerald Ruby actions with the 5-cost Pete.
Absolutely.
Because he's a villain and cares about actions.
That's true.
So have a bunch of villains that care about actions and stuff. That sounds like there could be something.
I mean, like Lady Tremaine cares about actions. She's a villain. Like, it's definitely possible. I like where your head's at. Your head's at.
Yeah.
Going closer to Christmas time.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah.
If this was set 6, it would be more in tune, more in theme.
Right.
But yeah, the end is near. I like it too. I think this could definitely see play if you're playing any villains-based deck. Obviously, I can always go back to Queen of Hearts, and we can play a Ruby Amber villains deck. And do something like that. So obviously a lot of options, and I think we say this every set, and I'm just gonna keep saying it. As we go on, as we get more cards, these cards that care about a specific thing are just gonna get better. It's just how the game works. In a year now, this card could be very, very good just because we have an amazing villains deck that uses Ruby. So always keep cards like this just tucked away in the back of your head, because you never know when they could come back out. But the next card we're gonna actually talk about characters now is Clarabelle. Clarabelle finally has her own character card, not just has set my heart with a bunch of A's. So they one costed on. Oh, jeez, I can't speak. One costed inkable character in Emerald, 1 strength, 2 willpower for 1 lore. And then I believe it's when you play this character, you may pay 2 to choose an item and banish it. If I'm not wrong, the translation cut
What
off
it looks
here.
like.
Honestly, basically you're saying you play this for 3 and you banish an item. It's like, obviously it's in a different color, but we have Benja already.
Yeah.
Like, which is better.
More lore on him and better stats. Yeah.
So yeah,
Doesn't Emerald also have Wildcat that could fit this better?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I know Wildcat's not as good as Benja, but like he's surely better than Clarabelle.
Yeah, is evasive, then you can exit to choose and vanish an item.
She's just a bit faster and being able to potentially do it on play if you pay that extra too.
That's true.
Yeah.
But outside of that, it's just a regular 1 cost.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for like stats, like it's not even a 2/2.
Yeah, unless we get something that something in Emerald, because we got Wildcat and Clarabelle now. Like if we get something in Emerald that cares about destroying other items, but
that could be interesting.
But that would have to be such a item heavy meta in order to.
You can say.
The top 2 decks are pretty item focused.
Yeah, like
right
2 of the
now,
top 4. So, obviously, like I would love to see this in Ruby. Give Ruby Amethyst a way to destroy items. That would be too broken. I don't think we're ever gonna see it unless like it's a few years down the road when we see Ruby Amethyst have a way to destroy items. I think that's reserved for Steel and Emerald. I don't think there's much more here to talk about, but we do have another card to talk about from this batch of 6. We have a new Merlin. Blake, you want to take us over this new guy?
Yeah, we got Merlin, and this time he's a turtle. He's
turtle.
Turtle. He is turtly enough for the Turtle Club.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, thank you. Someone got it.
Teddy's not old enough. We know this.
I know, but even within our generation, I have a hard time finding people that know.
It's good.
So bad it's good. It's a guilty pleasure movie of mine. The Master of Disguise, for those of you curious.
Yeah.
Very silly movie, but again, back to Merlin. 4 cost inkable 3/3, and as with other Merlins, he has ability for when he enters and leaves play, and for this one, it is look at the top 2 cards of your deck and put 1 back on top and 1 on bottom. So basically, Ursula's Cauldron that you can bounce. Yeah. I definitely, if with the 4 cost slot you already have Rabbit, I don't see this guy replacing the Rabbit unless you're really trying to cut down on uninkables. But even then, it's like you're using your uninkable slots for Rabbit.
Yeah, I don't really see this card seeing much play.
Yeah, unless you're going heavy on like the scrying sort of combo where you're using Bruno and wanting to always know the top card of your deck, I guess. But other than that,
But it's like, is Bruno's ability when you play him, or is it an exert ability?
Exert. Okay, so still very slow. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like you play Bruno on 4, hope he doesn't get removed, then play Merlin on 5.
Yeah.
And just like it doesn't feel great.
Yeah. That, or if you're running the Sorcerer's Hat, then you want to be able to consistently draw for.
But Rabbit just draws you no matter.
Yeah. No. Unfortunately, I'm not sure Turtle is going to find a place as of right now.
Yeah. Unfortunately, not.
Yeah. Turtle is fun though. I like a good turtle.
I like the idea though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
I love the flavor.
We saw one that's kind of like this with the squirrel, the 2-drop. I believe it's just look at the top card.
Yeah, you just look at the top card.
So kind of
So
building off that in a way, but not really.
The only thing with this is you do get to filter a bit, so you get to look at the top 2 and choose, and the other one goes to the bottom. So,
but in many Amethyst decks right now, you're trying to go faster, so like you just want to play cards that are going to draw you stuff or gain you lore, and that's Rabbit and Goat.
Right. Right.
So yeah, that is Merlin Turtle, and the final card we have is a new Amber character. Sean, you want to take us through this one?
Absolutely, yeah. Let's do it. I do have to say also the art on this card might be one of my favorites of the set so far. I know we don't have a ton of cards yet, but just the detail on the background art is phenomenal in this card.
Oh yeah.
It's gorgeous. So we have Minnie Mouse, Compassionate Friend. She is an Amber 4-cost inkable 1/5 with the ability a small and 2 lore, and the ability a small remedy. Whenever this character quests, you may remove up to 2 damage from chosen character. I just think we have, with Rapunzel at this same cost, I don't know if Minnie stacks up. You're not drawing off of her. Yes, you're gaining lore and you're going to heal your character, but I don't know. That 5 willpower is nice, though, I will admit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you look at the 1 strength and it's like dies to so many things, but you can say that so many times now. It's not like it's gonna matter really. But like you said, the 5 willpower is nice. It's not bad healing. It's what Amber does. They heal. They like to take damage off, but it's like you have Rapunzel there, so I don't.
Yeah.
I guess just another card for that Ruby Amber Mickey mini deck that wants to happen this set from what it looks like.
We got the Mickey and Minnie dancers earlier.
True.
And
I'm going back and looking at Rapunzel. Their stats are exactly the same except for their ability.
So it is true, actually. Yeah.
Rapunzel just has the edge because she can draw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's a difference between a legendary and a common.
True. That's true.
Yeah.
We've seen some decently strong commons, but not necessarily that strong.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, this is going to be the one time we have to say it. You can draft this card.
Yeah. Like this is not a bad draft.
This is a solid draft card for sure.
It's solid for draft. Yeah.
So.
Well, those were all the cards that we got from.
No.
I know. Just
wait.
There was at the end of that sentence. I said, "These are all the cards we got from Illuminarium Robin de Joux." We do have one more card to talk about that we got today from Brands Untapped. It is Pete Wrestling Champ, a 3-cost and uninkable steel character. 1 cost, or not 1 cost. I just said 3 cost. 1 strength, 3 willpower for 1 lore. His ability, it says repeat, which I think is amazing flavor. And it says, exert, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a character card named Pete, you may pay it for free. How many Pete cards do you have?
With this, I think 4.
So,
and all the 3 other ones are in Emerald.
What's with them pushing this Emerald Steel agenda?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Don't read into that sentence.
Right.
Don't read into that.
The only one I can really see you wanting to use with this one specifically is the 5 cost that I talked about earlier in the actions deck. But don't know if that would be really an Emerald Steel thing, but one day maybe. Definitely need a lot more Pete's in order to get a deck going around this guy.
It's a fun concept.
For sure.
But
perhaps someday we will see it come to fruition. Because if we get some little Pete's, I mean, it's definitely possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's kind of like Mufasa. You want to pull the Pete's that are bigger than that one.
Yes.
And not pull your 1-2 drops.
Yeah, those are all the cards we have to talk about now.
Yeah.
The final thing we are going to talk about today is Bochum from this past weekend. Ruby Amethyst won. It was a Ruby Amethyst mirror in the finals. So it was nice to see my deck get there. They don't have all the top deck lists. At least I'm looking at Ink decks right now. I think believe Lorcana Villain just released a video going over the all top 16 deck lists. So if you guys want to, go check out that video. But it was a Ruby Amethyst mirror in the finals. Congratulations to, I'm just reading this off of what Ink Decks has. Theotime Bouchot. Looks like, it seems like a French name. Congratulations on winning Bochum, obviously our 4th DLC champion crowned. The meta, I think, is what we kind of want to take a focus on right here, which is just very interesting. Ruby Amethyst and Emerald Steel made up nearly half the meta in just pool play, or in Swiss, I guess is the best way to put it.
Looks like what, like 47%?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ruby Sapphire was 15.3%, Sapphire Steel was 13.3%, and then it kind of just gets smaller between them and just goes down between all the other decks. But then as you, like, it's like, it was just kind of a Ruby Amethyst and Emerald Steel dominant weekend. Ruby Sapphire really didn't perform that well. Sapphire, in general, didn't perform the greatest. In top 16, there's only 3 Sapphire decks. It was 2 Sapphire Steel, 1 Ruby Sapphire, and then, like we said earlier, 8 Emerald Steel, and then the last 5 were Ruby Amethyst. So, Blake, I'll ask you first, thoughts on kind of just this whole... Because this kind of, like, sets the precedent for what Texas may look like, and also just gives more information for set champs going forward.
And especially now, I think people are going to be playing Bucky while they can, especially while he can still perform.
Exactly.
But obviously, as for someone, well, I'm not competing in Toronto yet. Hopefully, I'll get a email from the waitlist soon. Fingers crossed for that.
Yes.
But yeah, I just for the remainder, I just see Emerald Steel staying there until it has to leave.
Yep.
I'm curious with the Ruby Sapphire not performing as well, because that's one of the decks that usually does okay against Emerald Steel, especially with like Greatstone Dragons.
I want to say it's because of the Ruby Amethyst count and how many. Because the Ruby Amethyst can absolutely just wreck Ruby Sapphire.
Yeah, especially with how fast they can go now. Yeah.
And it's like, when you're playing Ruby Amethyst and Ruby Sapphire, if they want to, like, try to combat Flynn and Sisu and all that, they're not doing their ramp. They're not doing what they want to be doing. They're having to deal with you. And so, like, obviously in 2-game format, it's interesting because you get to go first once and you get to go second once. So, but other than that, I think it might have been Ruby Amethyst as to why Ruby Sapphire didn't perform as well as a lot of people thought it would. Sean, do you have any thoughts on Bochum and kind of the whole results?
I kind of expected we all knew what top 4 was going to be. We all knew what, like, the top 4 played decks, not the top 4 of the tournament. And I kind of think it fell into basically exactly what a lot of us. Not many surprises in my opinion. I do, like you guys have said, I do expect the next couple of events to just be stuffed with Emerald Steel while it can still be played viably. That version of it, at least. So yeah, I mean, it was a great event. I caught some of the games. Everybody played really, really well. Congratulations to all the great players that had a great time there.
Yeah. Well, that was the 4th DLC ever. We have the 5th next weekend. Texas. None of us will be in attendance, but I know you have a lot of friends going. That's pretty much all we had for episode 49. Obviously, the next episode we do is going to be a big one. Episode 50 episodes. A little over a year and a half in, which we're really excited to talk about. Just kind of go through the past, kind of see what where we were. I remember a week ago, I went and listened to episode 1, and I'm like, what is this? Like, this sounds, this is so bad. And obviously,
dude.
But that will have to wait an extra week. I'm gonna be out of town next week, and just Texas gonna be a big thing. So we're gonna take a week off next week, come back, and then we'll have Texas to talk about. We'll have set champs for, I know, because Sean, you have your set champ next week. Blake, you have yours next week, right? I remember.
Yep.
I have mine this coming weekend, so we'll have those to talk about. Obviously, we'll have a lot more cards to talk about because we're gonna have two full weeks, and then obviously we'll recap in episode 50, kind of celebrate. And so but if you guys do want more content from the Glimmer Gang, all of our links are down below. All of our personal links are also down below, so follow us there. We're starting to gradually, or at least I guess on our socials, we're doing more shorts and all that. So you guys do want more comment. You can comment down below how you thought of the episode. That worked. But check out more of our content, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks for episode 50. Glimmer on.